We've provided military assistance, further military assistance. We're announcing today further economic assistance for Ukraine, $2.5 billion worth of economic assistance that helps unlock financing from the IMF, from the World Bank, from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, to begin this process of rebuilding. We have an important bilateral meeting and then a meeting virtually with our colleagues from the coalition of the willing. Il y aura une réunion bilatérale et puis une réunion de la coalition de volontaires.
Наша заинтересованность в выводе украинских воинских формирований из занимаемых ими пока территорий фактически сводится к нулю. По разным совершенно соображениям. И если киевские власти не желают закончить дело миром, мы решим все стоящие перед нами задачи в ходе специальной военной операции вооруженным путем.
This is my video update on this Sunday afternoon, December the 28th, coming to you from Perivolia, Cyprus, about 15 to 20 minutes outside of Larnaca, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with Putin meeting Gerasimov somewhere on the front lines. And Gerasimov briefed Putin on the progress of the special military operation. It was announced that Russia has officially captured Guilapole. I was thinking the official statement would come in a week or two. Well, it happened yesterday. Guilapole has been captured by the Russian military. Russia would say that Guilapole has been liberated, but that was announced yesterday. It was also announced that Mirnograd in the Pokrovsk sector, this was the area of the Pokrovsk sector that was completely surrounded, that has been cleared, and the Russians have complete control of Mirnograd. And Putin then talked about the progress of a buffer zone, the creation of a buffer zone in Sumy, in Kharkov, as well as in Dnipropetrovsk. So we're not only talking about a buffer zone in the north, but we're also talking a buffer zone in the Donbass, Zaporozhye, Kherson, adjacent to Donbass, to that area as well, Dnipropetrovsk region. So Putin said that the buffer zone, the operation to create a buffer zone is moving along, is moving forward. And Putin also said that with the capture of Siversk, this will open up the way for the Russian military to advance forward towards Slavyansk. With the capture of Slavyansk, that would effectively mean that all of Donetsk will have been captured by the Russian military. The battle for Slavyansk has not started, but Putin did say that the path is now open to advance towards Slavyansk. Putin also said with the capture of Guilapole, this will also help the Russian military to advance forward towards Zaporozhye. I imagine Zaporozhye is the largest city in Zaporozhye. Guilapole is the second largest city in the oblast. So a lot of announcements made by Gerasimov and by Putin. They also announced the capture or the liberation of many other cities and towns as well. And then Putin talked about the the final chance to agree to Istanbul plus June 2024 root causes. This was a big statement from the Russian president, a very big statement. He basically said that Ukraine and the West, they should take June 2024, take that deal, because as things stand right now, the withdrawal of Ukraine from Donetsk, the Ukraine military from the Donetsk area, that withdrawal, which is part of the terms in the June 2024, as well as in the 28-point peace plan, or even the 20-point peace plan from Zelensky, all the talk about the Ukraine military withdrawing from the 20% of Donetsk that Russia does not control. That is basically, according to Putin, a non-factor. He basically said that with the quick advance of the Russian military, the terms of Ukraine withdrawing from Donetsk, which was an important term in all of the peace plans, he said that this does not matter much anymore, because at this rate, Russia's going to capture Donetsk. And so this is the last opportunity for Zelensky, for the Europeans, for the Trump administration to agree to the current terms of Istanbul Plus of June 2024, of Alaska Anchorage, the terms of Alaska and Anchorage. This is it. We have come to, I believe, the end of the road as far as June 2024 root causes terms goes. So now we've come to the end of the road, as Boys to Men once sang. Yep, we are at the end of the road with that set of terms and conditions. That's a huge statement from Putin. And I think this is more of a statement directed towards Trump, I believe, than towards Ukraine or even the Europeans. I believe this is Putin actually telling Trump, I've given you about 125 off-ramps to settle Project Ukraine, to get out of Project Ukraine. This is the last opportunity you're going to get. So as you're meeting with the Green Goblin in Florida, figure out a way to wrap this thing up based on what we discussed in Alaska, in Anchorage, on our terms, which are based from my speech to the Foreign Ministry, June 2024. Because at the rate of advancement, this is it. There's going to be different terms. And those terms are going to most likely be, at least with regards to territory, those terms are going to most likely be a withdrawal from regions further west, say Nikolaev or Odessa or something like that. So here is what Putin said. Judging by the pace of advance we're seeing along the contact line, our interest in the withdrawal of the Ukrainian military from the Russian territories they still hold has been de facto reduced to zero. If the Kiev authorities do not want to resolve the matter peacefully, we will achieve all the goals of the special military operation through military means. Putin said that Ukraine should listen to the smart people in the West and accept the good conditions that still remain on the table. For the last time, the good conditions that still remain on the table. The smart people in the West. So an amazing statement from the Russian president. This meeting in Florida that is going to take place today is a very important meeting. not only for for Ukraine, for Zelensky, for the Europeans, for NATO, but also for Trump, and for the United States. If Trump cannot figure out a way to get Zelensky and the Europeans and the neocons to agree to what he agreed to when he met with Putin in Alaska, then the next best option for Trump would be to just let Ukraine go, let Project Ukraine go. Just move away from it. We'll see. We'll see what will happen. The opposite result could actually happen. And after speaking to Zelensky and after speaking to the Europeans, which I believe will happen via video call, Trump may be convinced to double, triple, quadruple down on Project Ukraine. The neocons, Lindsey Graham, Rubio, they just might convince Trump that the way forward is to involve the U.S. even more in Project Ukraine. So we'll see what happens this afternoon. But I really do believe we have seen the final off-ramp from Russia and from Putin. Amazing homes here, huh? Absolutely amazing homes. The beautiful sea view. Look at this house. If Zelensky sees this video, he's going to tell Podolyak, hey, Podolyak, let's buy that home. Oh boy. So what did Putin say about the buffer zone? The tasks facing the Russian armed forces are being carried out in accordance with the plan approved and developed by the General Staff. The establishment of a security buffer zone in the border areas of Sumy, Kharkov, and Dnipropetrovsk region is progressing well. Yeah, that's what's going to happen when Russia advances all the way to capture Donetsk. Then the next terms that they're going to put forward are going to be the Ukraine military withdrawal from Kharkiv, from Odessa, Mykolaiv, and those areas. Those are going to be the next terms. And you know, Lavrov, Putin, Medvedev, they've been saying this for about 2 years. Accept the current terms, because the next terms are going to be a lot harsher. And when you think about it, June 2024, root causes, Istanbul Plus. These terms have been on the table for a year and a half. But the media makes it out as if the terms for a diplomatic settlement to Project Ukraine started with Zelensky's 20-point peace plan the other day, right? They never, ever talk about Putin's speech at the foreign ministry and June 2024 root causes. The collective West media never discuss it. It's as if it didn't exist. Everything started with Zelensky's 20-point peace plan that he came up with a couple of days ago. They don't even talk about Trump's 28-point peace plan anymore, right? It all started with Zelensky's 20-point peace plan, and that's what he's going to discuss with U.S. President Trump. At least that's what we're being told he is going to discuss with U.S. President Trump. He was going to meet with Trump at 3 o'clock Eastern time, but that has been pushed up by a couple of hours. So Trump is going to meet Zelensky around 1 o'clock local time, D.C. And actually tomorrow, Trump meets with the 29th. Yeah, I believe Trump meets with Netanyahu tomorrow. And Netanyahu's going to push for another strike into Iran. So a very big couple of days for the Trump presidency, at least when it comes to foreign policy. So Zelensky said yesterday that he has 2 red lines. Red line number 1 is territory, and red line number 2 is the ZNPP. Okay, the ZNPP is a red line for Zelensky. I guess he wants in on some of the crypto mining action, right? Hey, Podolyak, do we have any Bitcoin? Mr. President, we have a couple of Bitcoins. I need more. So, yeah, it's the MPP and territory. Those are the two big red lines for Zelensky. And everyone watching from the United States, Zelensky is saying that he needs more money. He needs more money, everyone watching from the USA. How much money does Zelensky need? How much money is he going to ask the United States, the people of the United States, to pony up? He is going to ask for around 700 to 800 billion, with a B, billion. At first I thought maybe hryvnia, maybe he's talking about Ukrainian hryvnia, but then I did the calculation and 800 billion hryvnia is around $20 billion, I believe. So no, he wants 700 to 800 billion. He's saying that he's going to speak with Trump and they're going to create some sort of a reconstruction fund, a development fund. And he said we need about 700 to 800 billion. So that's going to be a big ask from Trump. But hey, it's all going to a fund. And if it goes to a fund, then people of the United States, then your tax dollars are safe because it's going to go into a fund. It's going to go into a fund. And the Green Goblin is going to look after that fund. Yeah, 700 to 800 billion. Let me read you his post. We are working with the United States on the roadmap for Ukraine's prosperity. Our vision, together with the United States, extends to 2040, covering the key elements of an agreement on investment and future prosperity. The main aspects and directions are our national goals: life expectancy, the return of refugees, GDP per capita, new jobs, security guarantees, and then the direction of success to markets and accession to the European Union. We have goals and strategies for macroeconomic stability. We estimate that reconstruction will require approximately 700 to 800 billion. What is important is that we have a shared vision with the United States, that we will have several funds established. There will be a Ukraine Building Fund, a sovereign investment platform for Ukraine, a Ukraine Development Fund, and a fund for Ukraine's growth and opportunities. We plan to keep developing U.S.-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. The negotiating groups are also discussing matters regarding the Human Capital Fund and support for return. So a lot of funds for the 800 billion. And there's no way that Zelensky wrote this post on X. No. This was not written by Zelensky. Someone else wrote this post for Zelensky, because we're talking about a whole lot of money. A lot of money. Yep, a lot of funds. All kinds of funds are going to be created. Up until 2040, to go all the way to 2040. So that is going to be a big ask, not only of Trump, but of the American people, of the U.S. economy. So before meeting with Trump, Zelensky decided to make a quick stop in Canada, in Halifax, where he met with Carney and picked up a $2.5 billion check. Yep, just like that, man. Just like that. He visits Canada. Carney standing next to him, talks about supporting Ukraine and reconstruction and military assistance, blah, blah, blah. Here is $2.5 billion. Thank you very much, Mr. Carney. Oh, man. So this post on X from Stacy is pretty interesting. Very, very smart post from Stacy. 1 month, 4 different headlines. Trust none of this is to save our democracy. Zelensky's chief of staff, Andrei Yermak, resigns after anti-corruption raid. November 28th, 2025. Ottawa pledges another $235 million to Ukraine as Freeland pushes more investment. December 5th, 2025. Right after the corruption from Yermak, Canada handed over 235 million. Just a few days after the Yermak corruption, here's 235 million. We continue. Ukraine's anti-corruption agency attempts raid of parliament in new graft probe. That happened yesterday, 6 hours ago. That happened yesterday. Canada to provide $2.5 billion in economic aid for Ukraine, Prime Minister said. As you have another corruption scandal breaking out in Ukraine, totally different than the 100 million energy corruption scandal. This is a new corruption scandal that NABU is investigating. A couple of hours later, Canada gives Zelensky 2.5 billion. What is going on? What is going on? Wow. Unbelievable. So this new corruption scandal is votes for money. That is the latest corruption scandal that NABU is investigating. They are targeting, at the moment, 3 parliament members. And my understanding is that these parliament members are part of Zelensky's servant of the People's Party. So that's bad news for Zelensky, bad news for the ruling servants of the People Party. And this could actually affect their ruling majority or their coalition that runs the actual parliament. If something happens to these 3 MPs, or if this grows to include more MPs. But basically, the parliament members were given money in order to vote certain ways. That's what's going on here. Anti-corruption body is conducting searches of Zelensky's inner circle as Zelensky is on his way to meet Trump. National Anti-Corruption Bureau, NABU, is conducting searches within the walls of the Verkhovna Rada, the Ukrainian parliament, at the offices of the people's deputies, Kissel, a close friend of Zelensky, and Sheffer, and Koryanchenko from the Servant of the People Party. The latter is also a friend of Zelensky from their time working together at Kvartal 95 Studio. Kvartal 95 Studio is his production TV production company that he had before Kolomoisky turned everything into the Servant of the People's Party. So all of the script writers and producers and actors of his production company, Kvartal 95, they all became part of his administration, right? That's how this whole thing worked. So another corruption scandal. Money for votes. Money for votes, Mr. Carney. Here's 2.5 billion. Madness, absolute madness. So Budanov, the Android AI robot, known as Budanov, the Intel chief of Ukraine, he gave an interview the other day, and he said some pretty wild things. Remember, it was Budanov that said by the summer of 2023, Ukraine will have captured Crimea. I believe Podolyak, maybe it was Budanov, but I think it was Podolyak, said that they will be swimming in Crimea. Or one of them said, we'll be swimming in Crimea, and the other one said, we'll be fishing in Crimea, or something like that. So when Budanov speaks, sometimes he says some truth, but a lot of times it's just intel spy propaganda and misinformation and diversionary tactics and distractions and stuff like that. But he did say that the Russian military is producing a whole lot of weapons and missiles, and that they're producing these missiles without the help of Iran and North Korea, and that this capability to produce so many missiles is not going to go away. So Budanov said that in the interview. And then he started to talk crazy. And he said that there are many voices in the Kremlin that are telling Putin to end the war in some sort of a capitulation or at least a compromise with Ukraine and with the United States. They are urging Putin to end the war and to compromise, according to Budanov. And he said that these voices are growing with every day. I would say that, yes, there are voices in the Kremlin telling Putin to end the war, but not in the way that Budanov is saying. I think there are voices in the Kremlin that are telling Putin to end the war and achieve all of the goals of the special military operation. I think that's what these voices are telling Putin. I think these voices are growing with each and every day. Let's complete all the goals of the SMO. That's what the voices are telling Putin, not let's end the war and capitulate or compromise with Ukraine and the collective West. But Budanov, that is what he said in this interview. He also said that we have been at war with Russia since 2014. So we haven't won, but we haven't lost either. This is worth remembering. Interesting statement from Budanov. 2014, you say, huh, Mr. Budanov? You've been at war with Russia since 2014. And I thought the narrative was that Putin woke up one morning and started this conflict in 2022 of February. And now Budanov is saying we have been at war since 2014. An interesting admission from Budanov. And he also went on to say that Russia is preparing for an invasion of the Baltic states, but the war in Ukraine is currently preventing them from doing so. So that's nonsense from Budanov, but it plays into the narrative of Russia is going to invade Europe, and Ukraine is holding them back from invading Europe. So more money and more weapons. That's the purpose of that statement from Budanov. So in the UK, we have this gap year scheme that Healy is cooking up, where he is telling prospective future university students to join the military for 1 year if they're going to do a gap year before they go to university, instead of traveling the world and getting to see new places and new experiences. Healy is saying, nope, join the military. Join the military instead in your gap year. And the reason that they're doing this is because the UK is trying to build up its military forces for an eventual conflict with Russia by 2030. And so they need to figure out schemes to get the young, to get the youth into the military so that eventually they can be sent to the front lines to fight Russia, right? That's what this is all about. This gap year program that Healy is coming up with. So we have that bit of news, and what else? What else before we get to some clown worlds? A conflict could be starting between Saudi Arabia and the UAE in Yemen. We might be having some sort of a conflict between those two countries. So keep an eye out for what is happening there. And big news on the silver front. Silver is going way, way up. And China is going to ban the export of silver on January 1st. On January 1st, no more export of silver. 13% of the world's silver supply is going offline. China is the second largest silver producer and is stopping all silver exports next week. Who would have guessed that silver would be the hot asset? Gold and silver, but Silver is just exploding. Anyway, I wish I had some silver. If I had some silver, I'd be getting one of those homes. All right. Oh well. Let's talk about some clown worlds. Let's do some clown worlds. And we have this post from the Kobesi letter on X. This post on X. You can't make this up. Google now has a literal line item in their quarterly reports called the European Commission fines, 10.5 billion as of September 30th. The EU has become so heavily regulated that fines are a normal line item now. What is happening in Europe? What is happening in Europe, indeed? Indeed, what is happening in Europe? The regulations are the fines are so common, and the regulations, all this regulation stuff is so common that Alphabet has just now turned it into a normal line item. Just an operating cost for doing business in Europe. The price you pay for doing business in Europe. This is what keeps the European Union afloat, right? These fines on U.S. big tech. And those fines are set to increase with the DSA. And now we're starting to get an understanding as to why the Trump administration, or why Rubio, sanctioned the 5 former EU officials, or 5 Europeans connected to big tech and free speech and censorship. It's a warning to Europe. Stop fining big tech. Back off of the DSA, because it's getting too much for our companies. 10.5 billion, Alphabet. It's a lot of money. A lot of money. Even if you're Google, that's a lot of money. So what else? The Pentagon lost track of 6 billion in weapons sent to Israel, by which they mean they stopped checking. This is coming from the X account of Mario Naufal. Pentagon Inspector General report just dropped. Out of 13.4 billion in military aid sent to Israel since October 7th, 2023, the Department of Defense properly tracked 44%. Before the Gaza war, tracking was at 69%, not great, but functional. After October 7th, when weapons shipments accelerated and oversight mattered most, tracking collapsed to 44%. In other words, the Pentagon has no idea where 7.5 billion worth of American weapons actually went. Pentagon's excuse: staffing shortages and combat conditions. Those staffing shortages. A budget of close to $1 trillion, and they have staffing shortages. I guess you can't buy staff with $1 trillion, can you? Right? If they only had 1.5 trillion, then they could properly staff. So you don't have 7 billion just kind of disappearing. The report specifically warns that poor oversight raises the risk of sensitive U.S. weapons technology falling into hostile hands. That's bureaucratic language for we have no idea if American tech is being reverse engineered by adversaries right now. 7 billion, 6 billion, 7.5 billion, whatever the amount. It's a lot of money. A lot of money. That is not tracked. Ukraine as well. The Ukraine money was not, the Ukraine weapons were not properly tracked either, were they? 300 billion, 350 billion, not properly tracked. At least that's my understanding of things. No one really knows where that 300 billion went. Isn't that what Trump said the other day? Trump last week said that Biden gave 300 or 350 billion to Zelensky, and we don't even know where that money went. I forgot Trump's exact words. But anyway, I think we see a common theme here. So I'm going to end the video there. Like this video, share this video, maybe subscribe to this channel if you want, and go to the Durant shop, pick up some merch. Look for us on Substack. We are on X, and we are also on Telegram and Rumble. And I will see everyone tomorrow. Take care.